Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Next week is a big election in American history. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Matt Barber, director of cultural affairs for Liberty Counsel and associate dean for the law school. Matt, we are just a few days away from the midterm elections in 2010, which, in my view, represent a huge opportunity in American history and also a potential huge threat in American history. I said this a couple of years ago when we had a sea change and we had a number of socialists that took over our political scheme in Washington, D.C. They've pushed Obamacare and they pushed other kinds of socialistic agendas. They've taken over some of the car industries, those kinds of socialist mentalities that don't respect life or liberty or family. Mm-hmm. All of those issues, our values, all of these things are riding on the line next week. Now, obviously, we're not going to tell you who to vote for, but we will say that, number one, you ought to vote. Number two, you ought to vote your values.
Absolutely. And one of those big things that are coming down the pike here that are going to be voted on in my home state of Colorado that really gives people an opportunity to vote their values is Amendment 62, which is the personhood amendment in the state of Colorado. That's where I'm from. And I might add that my favorite football team is the Denver Broncos. Of course, Tim Tebow, a quarterback with the Denver Broncos now, his mother, Pam Tebow, making big news there in Denver, having come out and endorsed Amendment 62, which would grant full personhood to people, whatever their state of being might be, whether from conception on. And so that's a big endorsement for Amendment 62 there in the state of Colorado.
It really is. And certainly we can advocate in voting for those kinds of things. Those are not political individuals running for office. With regards to these referendums, that's like lobbying. So nonprofits and churches can actually advocate passage of or defeat of those kinds of things. And Amendment 62 in Colorado is a personhood amendment, and that is something, obviously, that is very at the core of what we do with life. And that recognizes life from the moment of conception, that you have the inalienable right that the Declaration of Independence talks about. We are also battling that issue to make sure that it's on the ballot in Mississippi, and we'll update you on that particular case on another program as well. So we have major issues on the ballot, such as this issue. Of course, California has the legalization of marijuana on the issue, and other states have pro-life, pro-family initiatives on the ballot. But we also have candidates. You have local candidates, you have state candidates, and you have national candidates. Congress is hanging in the balance. And when I say Congress, I mean the House and the Senate is literally hanging in the balance as to which way it'll go after the November elections.
I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say the country is hanging in the balance here, Matt. We are at a time now where one worldview is going to win, and that's what we see here. We are in a clash, an epic clash of worldviews. On one side, you have a neo-Marxist, secular, humanist worldview, those controlling the reins of government. Right now, Barack Obama and his ilk, far-left liberals in Congress, they are pushing this radical socialism, this culture of death, this radical pro-homosexual agenda, the pro-abortion agenda, and so forth. On the other side, the flip side, you have the worldview upon which our nation was founded. Irrefutable, the Judeo-Christian worldview. Our Constitution was created to work within the framework of that Judeo-Christian worldview. We are at a crossroads with this November election. Whose worldview is it going to be? I'm pulling and praying for the Judeo-Christian worldview.
Yeah, and I think what we're saying is that you need to go vote your Christian values. And, you know, sometimes we look at voting as just a civic act. It's sort of an obligation that we have. It's a civic duty. We put on our little lapel sometimes, I voted sticker. But it's much more than that. It is, I believe, a prophetic witness that Lou Engle once said, a prophetic witness to the community. It is your expression in the ballot box of your core biblical values. We can't be schizophrenic. We can't just be loyal to a party. We need to be loyal to the Lamb. And, we need to vote those Christian values that resonate from the Bible. We can't separate them. On the issues of life and marriage and family and liberty and religious freedom, those issues are not compromisable. And when the Scriptures speak of something, we can't have that one way in the church, a different way in our home, and then a completely different way in the ballot box. I mean, that's schizophrenic. God wants us to be complete in all those areas. How we act in church, how we act in home, ought to be how we act in the ballot box as well.
And Matt, you've heard the expression, there's strength in numbers. It's so disheartening to see in past elections when a voting bloc that makes up about 28% of the population, that's the evangelical Christian voting bloc, when they are discouraged and they don't go out and vote, the other side wins, the side of the culture of death and Marxism and socialism. But when that voting bloc is motivated and gets out and votes in favor of life, in favor of family, in favor of a free market system and limited government, when those numbers, that 28% of the population gets out in strength and votes, we can change the world. We can return this country to its founding principles.
That's right. I mean, if you believe, for example, in the sanctity of human life, that life comes from God and it's sacred, and that you yourself would not take an innocent human being's life. You wouldn't kill a 1-year-old, you wouldn't kill a 6-month-old, you wouldn't destroy a 1-month-old, and you wouldn't destroy a 9-month from conception or a 6-month from conception or a moment from conception. You wouldn't do that. Then why would you then go to the ballot box just because somebody is part of your party, somebody is a friend, or somebody's going to allegedly protect your pocketbook or your benefits? Why would you put that person in office? Because that person is an extension of who you are. It is an agent. It's just like somebody who's an ambassador that is acting in your behalf at a position and at a time where you're not able to be, but they're a spokesperson for you. It's like having a spokesperson go out and speak on your behalf so that that official word of that spokesperson, someone can take it to the bank. It's your word. Why would you put somebody in office that does exactly the opposite of your core Christian values? I can tell you what, God will hold you accountable for that. God will hold me accountable for the talent that we have of voting. We take it for granted because it's something that we've grown up with. But people in countries where they are not able to vote, like people in Iran, Harry Mahet, who's a senior litigation counsel for Liberty Counsel when he grew up in Romania, didn't have the right to vote. And when you now realize that it's a precious liberty, it is also a talent that God loans to us, just like our time and our money. It's a talent, and we've got to use it wisely, consistent with our core Christian values.
And you go and you bury that talent when you go out and you vote for a candidate that does not represent your principles. If you go out and vote for a pro-abortion, pro-homosexual candidate, you are putting your stamp of approval officially on the abortion culture and on the homosexual agenda. We can't do that. We need to get out and vote. I'm just saying, vote your values, whatever your values may be. Vote for candidates who represent your values.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back in time and you look back and you're able to play the time through a history book and you kind of flip through or a video and you look back and you say, I voted for this person. And your vote does matter, and this person is in office, and this person is the person who required funding of abortion, required abortion to be legal in these various states, also pushed same-sex marriage to disintegrate the family. And you see the horrors and the pain and the death that's ultimately resulted from your act. Don't think that you will not be held accountable. We are held accountable for those actions. And so voting, as Lou Engle poignantly put it, is a prophetic witness to the community. We have an opportunity now to literally affect positive change in America's future. We also have the opportunity to lose the foundation of America on which it was given and founded and God's going to hold us accountable for that as well. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel at 1-800-671-1776. We have a lot of information regarding voter guides all over the country. We may have a voter guide in your local area. You can go to our website or call us at 1-800-671-1776, and we can provide you with voter guides that can be distributed in churches and by nonprofit organizations, and we have them all over the United States. So call us today at 1-800-671-1776. Also sign up for the Liberty Counsel Freedom Federation social networking right there on the lc.org webpage. Click on the blue icon in the left. Sign up for our social networking today.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.